Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to break down this really powerful 15-minute routine that's designed to completely supercharge the brain for reading. It's a method that takes these abstract letters and turns them into something concrete, something automatic.
You know, for anyone just learning to read, a letter on a page can just be a shape. It's an abstract puzzle. The real challenge, and the part that can be so frustrating, is building that rock-solid, automatic connection between the symbol you see and the sound it's supposed to make. That's a huge mental leap, and it's not nearly as simple as it looks.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the core problem, the roadblock. Then, we'll see how to build a brain highway to get right around it. We'll explore two key exercises that literally pave that road, understand the cool neuroscience that makes it all click, and finally, see the incredible potential this simple routine can unlock.
Okay, so what is this reading roadblock really? Well, at its core, it's about creating an instant, effortless link. It's all about bridging the gap between what our eyes see on the page and what our mouth and our vocal cords physically have to do to make the right sound. When that connection is slow or weak, reading just becomes a total chore. So how do we fix that? How do we get past that roadblock? We build a superhighway. And the goal here isn't just to build any old path. We're talking about a high-speed connection between two absolutely critical centers in the brain to make that link instantaneous and incredibly strong. So the first destination on our highway is something called the visuospatial sketchpad. Just think of this as your brain's internal camera. Its whole job is to see a letter, process its unique shape, the curves, the lines, all of it, and just hold that image steady in your mind. And the second destination? That's the phonological loop. This is the brain's sound system, but it's more than that. It doesn't just hear sounds, it actually manages the entire motor plan for speaking them. And this is the crucial part. It's connected to the physical feeling of your lips, your tongue, and your voice box as you make a sound. So the whole point of this entire intervention is to basically weld these two systems together. What we want is for the vision center, when it sees the letter M, to instantly and automatically trigger the sound center to produce that M sound. No thinking, no delay, just boom. Okay, so how do we start building this highway? Well, the first step is laying a really solid, multi-sensory foundation. And this isn't about boring flashcards. It's about physically mapping the sounds using the kid's own mouth as the guide. And this is where it gets so clever. The whole process uses multiple senses at once. A child looks in a mirror and literally sees their lips pressed together for the M sound. They say it out loud, and then they feel it. They touch their throat to feel the vibration. They feel the air. This creates such a powerful physical memory, it goes way beyond just hearing a sound. But then, and this is the important part, comes what's called the level 2 shift. The student silently makes the shape of the sound with their mouth, while you, the instructor, say it for them. That's where the magic happens. And this is exactly how you'd coach it. You make it super tangible. For the letter M, you'd literally say, watch how your lips press together for the sound. You're making them pay attention to the physical feeling, the actual motor plan of making that sound. Suddenly, it's not so abstract anymore. So, why on earth does this work so well? Well, it's because you're giving the brain a physical cue it can rely on. When the student silently mouths that sound, their brain is forced to internalize the feel of it. It's not just a picture on a card anymore. It's a feeling, a movement. It's encoding the letter's true identity.
All right, the foundation is poured. Now it's time to pave the highway and, crank up the speed limit. And we do this with a really fun game-like activity called visual hide and seek.
The real engine of this game is what's called the triple link. For every single target letter they find on the page, the student has to do 3 things fast. Say the letter's name, say a familiar keyword, and then repeat the letter's sound. This rapid-fire sequence just welds the letter's visual form to its name and its sound in their memory. And the game progresses in a really smart way. You start off at level 1, what you could call easy mode. The brain can be a little lazy here, finding the target M among totally different shapes. But then you quickly ramp it up to level 2, hard mode, which forces the brain to work much harder to spot that M when it's hidden among its lookalikes, like N and H.
Okay, here's how you play. You both get the same grid of letters, someone says go, and you race to find and circle a specific target letter. Every single time the student finds one, they have to say the triple link. They keep stretching out that sound until they find the next one, and then for the final 30 seconds, Boom, it's a lightning round of just the sound. And this is the most important rule, you always let the student win. That little burst of success gives a dopamine hit that helps lock that memory right into place.
This right here is the heart of the game, the triple link. So if the target letter was L, the student would find it and say, L, lamp. That's name, keyword, sound. That keyword, lamp, is like a little safety net. It's a bridge that can help them get back to the sound if their brain forgets it for a second.
Now, the game starts out pretty easy, but once a student is finding that letter with about 80% accuracy, it is time to level up. The source material calls this upgrading their mental camera. You're about to force their brain to see with much higher precision, and honestly, this is where the real brain training kicks in. Just look at the difference here. On level 1, if the target is M, the other letters, the distractors, look totally different, right? Like O, A, S. It's easy to spot the M. But in level 2, oh boy. The distractors are letters like N, R, and H. See how they all have similar lines and curves? Now the brain has to work way harder to tell them apart.
So what is actually happening inside the brain during all this? I mean, why is that level 2 race, the really hard one with all the lookalike letters, why is it so incredibly effective?
This is the real magic right here. First, it sharpens what neuroscientists call the visual token for that letter. It's like turning a blurry standard def picture into a crystal clear high def one. Second, it helps the brain unlearn its natural instinct to see letters like B and D as just the same object flipped around. And third, it builds visual stamina, training the brain to handle a whole page of text without getting totally exhausted.
After all this, the mouth mapping, the high-speed races, the neuroscience, what's the single biggest takeaway from all of it? You know, the most powerful part of this entire sequence is just how efficient it is. From physically feeling the sounds to that intense focus of the visual race, this whole brain-building routine, it takes just 15 minutes a day. That's it. Ultimately, what this shows us is the incredible power of building these targeted, multi-sensory superhighways in the brain. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other complex skills, I mean anything, from learning a new language to playing an instrument, could we master so much faster, so much more effectively, if we just consciously connected what we see, what we hear, and what we feel?
Have you ever had that moment, that flash of frustration when a child, for the 10th time, confidently points to a D and calls it a B? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. We're about to unpack a secret weapon for tackling those tricky letter reversals, B, D, P, and Q, using a technique that is surprisingly simple.
It sounds a little strange, doesn't it? The idea that the mouth could teach the eyes? I mean, reversing letters feels like a visual problem, right? But what if the physical feeling of making a sound could give our brain a clue that's so strong it completely overrides that visual confusion? Well, that's the big idea we're going to dive into. Okay, so to understand the solution, we first have to really get a handle on the problem. Why do these visual tricks, like the bat comes before the ball, fail for so many learners, especially kids with dyslexia or other processing delays? Well, the answer lies in something called working memory. I want you to think of working memory as your brain's temporary sticky note. When a child sees a letter, they have to hold its shape in their mind, then they have to remember the rule you taught them, and then they have to figure out which way the stick and circle is supposed to go. For a brain that's already working hard, that's just way too much information. The sticky note gets totally overloaded and just falls off. So the old method relies entirely on a visual cue, what the letter looks like. And as we just saw, this totally overloads the visual part of working memory. But this new method, it uses a physical or what we call an articulatory cue. It's about what your mouth is doing. It shifts the whole workload to a different, much less crowded part of the brain. Let's see exactly how this works. So to really get why this fix works so well, we first have to understand where the problem starts. And a lot of times it starts in what I call the reversal race, a fast-paced learning game where confusion can really take over.
Okay, so picture this game. It's often called something like visual hide and seek. A student gets a grid packed with letters, and their mission, should they choose to accept it, is to find and circle a target letter as fast as they possibly can. The keyword here is speed.
And this is where the trouble starts. See, the goal of the game is awesome. It's to build that triple link, that instant connection between a letter's shape and its sound.
But the grid is an ambush. It's loaded with those mirror image letters. When the eyes are flying across the page, B's and D's start to look the same. And that's when you see it. The hesitation, the marker hovering, and then boom, they circle the wrong letter. It's not their fault. Their visual system is just overloaded.
All right, so the eyes are getting tricked. This is the moment we need a kind of power up, a secret strategy to get our learner back on track fast. And here it is. This is the most important idea in this entire explainer. When the visual system gets confused, we don't try to fix it visually. We don't say, look closer. No, we pivot. We switch to a totally different sensory system that isn't confused at all, the mouth. Now, this strategy actually has a name. It's called the first stroke rule. And it's just a really clever way to connect the physical feeling of making a sound with the physical action of writing a letter.
This chart right here, this is the entire secret. It all comes down to one simple matchup. The first thing your mouth does has to match the first part of the letter you see on the page, what we call the leading edge. So if a sound starts with your lips closed in a straight line, the letter you're looking for has to start with a straight vertical line. That narrows it down to just B or P. And if the sound starts with your mouth open, kind of like a circle, well then the letter has to start with a round circle. That means it can only be D or Q.
So this simple rule gives us two clear teams, line letters and circle letters. For the line letters, think about the sound B. My lips have to press together in a line to start it. Listen, B. Notice how quick and clipped that is. We really want to avoid saying B because that adds an extra vowel sound we don't need.
But whisper P.
It's just a quiet little puff of air that starts from that same line shape. Now look at the circle letters. To say duh, my mouth has to start open in a circle shape. Duh. The feeling in your mouth is literally telling you what shape to look for first.
Okay, so the theory makes sense, but how do you actually use this in the heat of the moment when a kid is getting frustrated? Let's walk through the step-by-step troubleshooting protocol.
That moment of hesitation, the marker just hovering over the page, that's your cue. That is your signal to jump in with the emergency fix.
The protocol itself is super simple, just 3 easy-to-remember steps. Step 1, freeze. Step 2, mouth check. And step 3, match the leading edge. That's it. Let's break down what each of those means.
Okay, here's the playbook. Step 1, freeze. Just say, pause for a second, and have them hold their marker right over the letter they're stuck on. This stops the frantic guessing. Step 2, mouth check. You, the instructor, clearly say the target sound. Remember, keep it clipped. No at the end. And then finally, step 3, match. This is where you ask one simple question that changes everything.
And here it is. This is the single most important question you can ask. You look right at the student and ask, when you make that sound, does your mouth feel like a line or does it feel like a circle? This question is magic because it forces them to stop looking and start feeling. It connects that physical sensation in their mouth directly to the symbol on the page.
So what happens when there's a mismatch? Let's say the sound is B. So their mouth feels like a line, but their marker is hovering over a D, which starts with a circle. Well, we give that letter a name. We call it a distractor. It's just there to trick you. If the mouthfeel and the first stroke don't match, you just say, nope, that's a distractor. Let's keep hunting for the real one.
Now you might be wondering, what happens if the student correctly identifies a lined letter, but can't decide between B and P? Great question. There's an advanced check just for that.
For those really stubborn pairs, like B and P, which, remember, both start with that mouth line, we bring in one more physical clue, the vibration in your throat. We call this the hand-on-throat check.
And this is the final piece of the puzzle. You can actually try this with me right now. Put your hand on your throat. Now, make the B sound. B, B. Feel that little vibration, that buzz? That's a voiced sound. Your voice box is on. Now try the P sound. P, P. See? Nothing, right? It's totally quiet. Just a little puff of air. It's a foolproof physical test that gives a clear answer every single time. Ultimately, this whole thing really boils down to one powerful idea. Think of it like this. The mouth is the gatekeeper for the hand. Before the hand gets permission to circle that letter, the mouth has to check its ID and confirm that its shape and its sound are a perfect match.
By using these simple, physical, sensory clues, we're giving our learners a reliable internal compass that just can't be fooled by tricky mirror images. So now you've got the mouth mapping secret.
Go out there and turn those frustrating reversals into some amazing confident reading wins.